Kitten kept the baby warm in the Merciless street, Passersby cried. On a cold, unforgiving street, a tiny kitten did something no one expected. She kept a helpless baby warm, offering a comfort that only a heart full of compassion could provide. Passersby stopped in their tracks, moved to tears by the extraordinary bond between the two. The sight was so powerful it left everyone in awe, unable to hold back their emotions. On a crisp November evening in a busy city, the streets buzzed with the sounds of honking cars and the chatter of rushing pedestrians. But down a quiet alley, far from the warmth of bustling shops and cafes, a heartbreaking scene began to unfold. A baby, no more than a few months old, lay bundled in a tattered blanket abandoned in a cardboard box. The air was harsh and biting, and the child's tiny face was pale, lips trembling from the cold. As the city continued its busy, relentless rhythm, a stray kitten appeared from the shadows. Scruffy and with matted fur, its wide, curious eyes reflected both hunger and a strange pull toward the box. Despite its own hunger, something drew the kitten closer. The kitten approached cautiously, its instincts a mix of wariness and hope. When it spotted the baby, a deep, protective instinct kicked in. Without hesitation, it jumped into the box, curling up beside the baby, seeking warmth and comfort. Heather, a young woman on her way home from work, was the first to notice. Her mind was occupied with the usual worries, bills, deadlines, and a relationship that had become more of a burden than a source of joy. But as she walked past the alley, the sight of the baby and the kitten stopped her in her tracks. Her heart raced, a mix of fear and concern washing over her. "Someone help," she cried, her voice trembling. People continued to walk by, some casting glances, others shaking their heads as if to dismiss the scene. But Heather couldn't look away. She stepped closer, her heart pounding in her chest. The kitten, sensing the warmth of another, curled tighter against the baby, purring softly. It was a sound that seemed to echo in the cold air, a melody of hope amidst despair. Heather knelt down, her breath catching in her throat. "Oh my God," she whispered, reaching out to touch the baby's cheek, which felt alarmingly cold. Just then, an older man paused, his brow furrowed with concern. "What's happening here?" he asked, his voice gravelly but kind. Heather explained, her words tumbling out in a rush. The man nodded, his expression shifting from confusion to determination. "We need to call for help," he said, pulling out his phone. As they waited for assistance, more people gathered, drawn by the commotion. Some gasped at the sight of the baby, while others cooed at the kitten, who seemed to instinctively know it was doing something remarkable. It licked the baby's face, its warmth a small beacon of hope in that dark alley. Minutes felt like hours, and the tension hung thick in the air. Heather held the baby's tiny hand, feeling the fragility of life. "You're going to be okay," she whispered, though she felt a pang of doubt. The kitten continued to purr, its little body a source of comfort. When the sirens finally pierced the night, a wave of relief washed over Heather. Paramedics rushed into the alley, their voices calm and authoritative. They gently lifted the baby from the box, checking for signs of distress. The kitten, undeterred, followed closely as if it were a guardian, unwilling to leave its newfound friend. As the paramedics worked, Heather stepped back, her heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and sorrow. She watched as the baby was wrapped in a warm blanket, the kitten still nestled close. The crowd murmured, some wiping away tears, others sharing stories of their own struggles. The baby was taken to the hospital, and Heather, feeling an inexplicable bond, decided to follow. The kitten was placed in a small carrier, its eyes wide with confusion but filled with a fierce loyalty. At the hospital, Heather learned that while the baby was stable, the road to recovery would be long. The authorities needed to find a safe home, and the kitten, now a little hero in its own right, would not be separated from the child. Days turned into weeks, and Heather found herself at the hospital every day, her connection to both the baby and the kitten growing stronger with each visit. She would sit beside the baby, gently holding its tiny hand, while the kitten curled up beside them, offering warmth and affection. The bond between them was undeniable, and over time, Heather felt a change within herself. The worries of her own life slowly faded, replaced by a newfound sense of purpose. One day, as she sat in the hospital room, a social worker approached her with a proposal. "Would you consider fostering the baby? The kitten needs a home too, and we believe they should stay together." Heather's heart lifted with a sudden rush of emotion. "Yes, absolutely," she exclaimed, tears flowing down her face. The baby and the kitten had unknowingly pulled her from her own darkness, saving her in ways she never expected. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.